Hey now, it's Phillip E from Screenwriters Talking Shop. Today I want to talk about the screenwriter's journey, particularly as it's been applicable to moi, but how it could be applicable to you as well. Perhaps you're less experienced than I am, you've been doing it less time. I've been doing this now since 2012. So I got that bug early on, and I got lucky actually. In my early first year, I was able to get an option agreement with a producer, and also, even though I had another fellow screenwriter tell me my stuff was the worst crap he'd ever read, I actually soon placed in the Screencraft action contest with not just one, not just two, but three action screenplays. So that gave me a little bit of a boost, and then I placed in a couple of others, and so I acted boldly, and consequently, like I said, I signed an option deal, won a few contests. But you have to decide what your goal as a writer. For me, first and foremost, my goal has always been I want to make movies. My second goal is I'd like those movies to be quality pictures, God forbid even artistic. And then third, I want to enjoy myself. Obviously, this is an artistic process for me. I'm no spring chicken, and screenwriting has been great for me at this stage of my life, in my twilight years. So I have something that occupies a lot of my time. So again, making films, that's my primary goal. So what's the process? Pardon me, I'm going to scratch right here. What's the process for a lot of people? I mean, I know a lot of writers. I know tons of screenwriters. I know good writers. There's a lot of writers that do contests, and they think if they win Page or Nickel or Austin Film Festival, that's going to be a pathway to someone wanting to make their screenplay into the next big budget movie. Got news for you. There's plenty of contest winners that go nowhere. You can look up a list of Nickel Fellowship winners. See how many of those guys have actually made movies and successful films. And Nickel's, that's the big dog, right? Austin Film Festival, Page Awards. You can have scripts that win contests, but they don't necessarily get film deals because it may be a well-written script, but it may not be a well-written script that a producer or a company wants to buy. So contests, in my opinion, are fun. I love competing. I'm actually kind of backing off of that because it's, like I said, it can be a drain on your finances, and I've gotten jack and diddly off of doing screenplay contests. Now, since I've racked up a lot of placements and wins, has it hurt my resume? Absolutely not. But if that's your pathway to getting a film deal, it's a train to nowhere. So that's just my opinion. My opinion now. Sorry if you don't agree with me on that. Finally, I had a friend, kind of a sensitive soul, great screenwriter. He won the Austin Film Festival. This is probably 6-7 years ago. He got some interest from some production companies, took a couple meetings, nothing ever happened, and he was quickly discouraged by the whole process, and as far as I know, I don't think he's writing anymore. So that's kind of sad, but you got to be in this process for the long haul. If you don't decide that you must persevere through this and through tons of rejections, you are destined for disappointment and ultimately failure. So, what to do, right? Okay, the more material you have, the better chance you're going to have. And the more of that material that is budget friendly, those chances will increase even more. My problem and mistake is I've just written what I wanted to write, so a lot of what I've done is not budget friendly. I've done a lot of period pieces, and look, I don't have regrets about that. It's been fun, but I've decided now that I'm really changing my direction, and I'm going to stick to writing really budget-friendly material. The first film that I have that got made early this year was a budget-friendly movie. It got made for, I think it's made for about $1 million. So, again, if you're writing the next Marvel comic film, or you're writing a $100 billion budget movie, you're going to be peeing into the wind, I'm afraid. So that's my advice. Start by writing movies that are going to appeal to independent producers and people that are spending less than, let's say, $3 million. And if you can write them do a movie for $250,000 or even $100,000, God bless you, right? The next thing I would say is the more of that material you have, the better. If you're flogging the same 2 or 3 scripts, again, you're limiting yourself. Hey, it's easier said than done to sit there and create material, but to me, you probably, if you set your mind to it, you can write 4 to 6 screenplays a year. And this year I'm on track. I've written 3. I'm going to write my 4th screenplay. It'll be done by the end of the year. So again, your output is also going to be a factor in your chances of success. This is a numbers game. So if you're not out pitching material constantly, again, you're minimizing your chances of success. I mean, I talk to screenwriters. I had screenwriters approach me and say, well, what's the best way to do this, or what's the best way to do that? And then I talk to them, and they keep telling me what they can't do. I can't do this. I can't afford this. I'm this, I'm that. And the thing is, man, you got to be able to open your mind to what it's going to take to achieve success. Because getting films made is very competitive. Look up how many independent films get made. It's almost impossible to get a number on it, but I'll guarantee you it's not all that many. You know, how many movies get made a year? How many big budgets get made? And look at people like Tracking Board or some of these other services. They'll tell you, you know, it's a great year if 100 spec screenplays are signed. And you got to, you know, how many screenwriters are out there? I'd venture to say hundreds of thousands of them, if not more. So you're competing with tons of screenwriters, and a lot of them are good. At least 10% of them are probably competent, and 5% of them may be even excellent. So you have a lot of competition, and you're also competing against established screenwriters, WGA screenwriters. I signed a deal in 2018 for a screenplay I wrote called, at the time, Drowning on Dry Land, but it was a gangster television pilot. And the reason why I was able to sign with this prominent agency is because I had the rights to the primary subject of the screenplay, a guy named Biff Halloran. I copywrote his Jailhouse manuscript, and then I hooked up with a guy who had 8 hours of tape of Biff Halloran, who happened to be his next door neighbor. And this guy was a hip-hop producer, and he actually scored us the deal with DePass Jones, which, after a minimal amount of pitching on their part, went nowhere. But I was in contention for a pretty high-profile gig, but the guy who got the gig was a little guy named Steve Zalian, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and he wrote The Irishman recently for streaming television. He also wrote Schindler's List and a lot of other great films. So who do you think is going to get that gig, me or Steve? So that question is obvious. You have to invest money in your career. So I talk to screenwriters weekly. I can't afford this. I can't afford this. And hey, listen, man, stop going to Starbucks. Don't go to fast food restaurants. Give your dog a little less food, and he's getting fat anyway. But my point is scrape together some money. Make sure you at least are a member of IMDb, and use IMDb Pro to try to find people to connect with. You can meet people at film festivals. You can try to make connections that way, but you got to pay money to go to film festivals too. So using your $22 or however much, $25 if it is, for IMDb is well worth it, because there's thousands of people in there, and there's actually a lot of contact information on IMDb Pro. Send a director that you like a nice email talking about how much you admire their work, and try to build a relationship. When you're working with services like I've done, I've signed at least 20 option and right to shop agreements via a couple of services, and only 2 of them have led to getting movies made, and one of them is going to be produced next year. So it's just because you sign a deal doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. And I've signed deals with people that looked like they were very promising. I had a guy that I signed a deal with who had just made a movie that was on Showtime and other streaming networks. Guaranteed me we were going to get this one made that he wanted to do. And I'm still awaiting word back on that, and that was 5 years ago. So it ain't happening, right? But it looked like a promising deal. But the whole thing is, I did 3 rewrites for this guy, and that's a whole other topic. You get somebody that wants your script, and then they tell you got to do 10 rewrites before they're going to pitch it around town. Blow that person off, man. If you can't give them a script that they can work with and at least find interested parties, then it ain't worth it. So let's say you find a guy on Inktip that wants to make your screenplay, and he pitches it to a bigger studio, and then they say they're interested. Somebody's got money. When somebody's ready to pay you some money or put up some dough, then you can talk about a rewrite or what they want to change. But there's a lot of realities to getting movies made. I had people make changes to my first movie screenplay that I didn't care for, and I was really even consulted on it. So there's a lot of factors that fall into play here, but the bottom line is, my original point is, don't sit there and do tons of rewrites for people that aren't doing shit for you or not ready to shop your material around. You should have a screenplay that's in good enough shape where they think they can interest somebody to make a film. So obviously, what does that mean? It means that the punctuation's there, the grammar is there, you've got a cohesive story, the plot points are there, but a lot of stuff is very subjective. So just because Joe, the producer who's made 5 movies, thinks you should rewrite this doesn't necessarily mean you should rewrite it. It's all opinions, and there's a lot of what I like to say, Philistines and dilettantes out there. So there's a lot of people, and everybody wants to put their stamp on shit. And my whole thing is, like I said, unless somebody's ready to pony up cash, don't spend a lot of time doing rewrites. I've beaten this point to death, but there's a reason for it. So when you're looking for even indie producers, sift through IMDb and make sure they have fresh credits. And fresh credits means they've made movies, let's say, since 2018 at least. So, I had somebody contact me about something, they haven't made a movie since 2004. So I'm not going to waste my time with that person. It's like, when was the last time you made a movie? So you want people that have fresh contacts, that have made movies recently. The guy I signed 2 right-to-shop deals with last year, he makes 4 or 5 movies a year. He's hustling, right? Low-budget movies, but he's getting movies made. So the other thing, getting back, pitch constantly. You should be doing pitches. Go on IMDb, do cold queries. You'll think it's a waste of time, and most of them are a waste of time, but occasionally you do get through. I pitched a bunch of Lifetime type producers last year, and out of I think I sent about 40, 50 queries, and I did get 4 or 5 responses. I didn't get any action off of it, but I got people that read screenplays, okay? Very hard to get a movie made. Very hard to get producers and production companies, even for lower budget movies, to pull the trigger. You have to want to do this, and you have to keep pushing. You have to keep pitching all the time. I've done at least 20 pitches this week that I sent out, okay? I found a literary agent online, prominent literary agents that's done some projects that I've heard of, okay? And I sent them a query. I also leveraged the fact that I just made a film. Even though I don't have representation, I used that leverage to get in the door, and now they're looking at 2 of my screenplays. And they wanted pitch decks, okay? So people that tell you don't need to have pitch decks are full of shit. Have a pitch deck ready to promote your material. The next thing is that I've lost my train of thought here. That's why I have notes. Okay, persevere. If you're not in this for the long game, you're not going to succeed. Okay, so if you think you're going to write a couple of scripts and set the world on fire, it ain't going to happen. You have to want to do this for years. I just saw a video of a guy, I can't remember his name now, but he's done quite a few movies. Some of them are recognizable, some of them not. He said it took him 10 years to get his first decent film deal. So, in any case, I hope this little philosophical spiel that I delivered today helps some of you out there. And again, this is based on my experience. And I'm Phil Hardy with Screenwriters Talking Shop. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.